Shorty swing my way. Gotta get up the nerve and get my swerve on. Gotta do it fast or he'll be gone. Cause of the beat, just my luck. That somebody else will scoop him up. Can't have that, wanna be that girl that found herself a perfect match. Didn't wanna come off as being too fly. Got contact eye to eye. Then I walked over to him slowly. Said, I know you don't know me, but this might be my only shot at a tenderoni. He told me that we can do this, cause a girl like you I can't resist. Got straight to the point, no time to play. Didn't need no game, just had to say, shorty swing my way. You sure look good to me. Now would you please swing my way? Shorty swing my way. Swing it over here, shorty. Shorty swing my way.
Here we go once again, Big Mike, son of Kaos, live and direct today. Know how we do it on the program, man. Nothing conformist, nothing politically correct. You know, hey, you get my homies' opinions of my partners up in the USG, the United States Ghetto, baby. So right now I got a special treat for y'all. Got my man, brother, Stephen Muhammad of Objective Overview. Highly intellectual, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too, brother.
Yeah, man, check it out. We doing a show today, man, on male-female relationships.
The man is put here to be the protector, the maintainer, and the elevator of the woman. But in this society, especially when it deals with the black man, it's very difficult to be the protector, the maintainer, and the elevator of the woman due to the fact that we are under oppression, and really we're under a racist society, a racist institution that is called America. Therefore, what it does is it hires the woman, it hires the female, and it gives the male a job, but it gives him a job in labor.
Right.
He's not given, especially like if you look on the news channels, you see the black woman as the anchor woman. Right. Usually you might see the black male, but usually the black male gets the position of the weatherman. He doesn't get the position of the anchor.
Right, right.
So therefore he doesn't get the position of the high-paying jobs. If you go right downtown, you see black women working in the offices.
Right, right.
Very few black men. So how does this affect the family? If the man is the maintainer and the provider, but yet the woman is, as the commercial said, she's bringing home the bacon and frying it up in the pan, and the man is just sitting around watching all his children run around outside as the world turns around him, and you know, and he only got one life to live, but yet he's not productive with his life. Therefore, you know, the woman is now starting to look on the black man, and she's really getting tired of the black man.
Right.
You know, and a lot of it is due to racism, but nowadays a lot of it is due to our own fault because we refuse to come together as black men. And a lot of that should be preached in the church. This unity.
Right.
Doing something for ourselves, pulling our resources together. You know, you have other ethnic groups that come into the black community and they build up, you know, storefronts in our own community. And this is something that we have to learn to do for ourselves. And one of the main things that keeps us from doing that is a lack of trust.
Right. The people that come over, right?
Right.
Koreans and Pakistanis, they have a very strong family unit.
Right.
Very strong family base, which, you know, once they get over here, they set up shop, then they send for their aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and all that, right? And that
That's
all
right.
starts with just the basic core family, you know, the mother, father, and the kids, you know what I mean?
That's right.
And so we've been fragmented to the degree, right, where if we can't have unity in the family, then no doubt we can't have unity in our neighborhoods.
That's right.
Period.
That's right. And a lot of it, you know, we got to go back into the history.
Right.
When we were brought here, we didn't come over on the Ninta, the Pinta, or the Santa Maria.
Right.
We were brought on over here on the first ship. It was called the Good Ship Jesus.
Right, right.
When we were brought here, as soon as our feet touched the soil, usually the parents were killed off and they were put in the care of the white overseer.
Okay.
Now this was to sever the relationship to our culture. This was to sever the relationship to our name, our religion, and our God.
Right.
And this went on not for 5 years, like the Holocaust,
Right.
but this went on for over 300 years. They would kill off any type of African who wanted to practice his own religion and culture, which included family values. If they were taught turning to the east and praying to Allah, then it was death.
Right.
You know, and this destroyed the family values. And as like I said, you know, if we look today, that same type of system is being perpetuated today. The home is being broken up, and you have the women that are in the projects.
Right.
And as long as they live in the projects, they're not allowed to have any man living in the home. But yet, America talks about family values. Then you have black men who can't find a job. So now these black men are being shuttled into prisons that are coming more and more privatized, which is nothing but another modern day slavery.
Right.
And so now you have the same type of situation of the black woman ruling the home, the black woman being the protector, the black woman being the maintainer,
Right.
almost like a reversal of roles.
So she been carrying the black nation on her back for quite some time now.
For a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah. And the black man has been oppressed and suppressed by this racist America. And so now Minister Farrakhan has called for the black man to atone, to reconciliate, and to once again gain responsibility for our actions and our deeds and our family. So he called for the Million Man March. You know, this was, many people say, well, what political move was this? Well, it wasn't really for political reasons. It was to atone and to come back to God. Because as we know, America has a divorce rate of over 50%. Over 50%, meaning that, you know, the schools, they teach mathematics and all this type of stuff, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and even that's failing. But they never teach the male-female relationship. And what makes it worse is that now on the television and radio, it's just up in the air. You can talk about anything you want. Due to this whole thing with the president, Monica Lewinsky, oral sex,
Right.
they talk about cigars, they talk about the Oval Office, you know, all this type of thing, and this is going into the ears of the children, but yet they're not talking about the true relationship between the man and the woman, that spiritual relationship. It's all focused on like a physical type of animal, carnalistic relationship. And then both parties are hurt in the process, because usually what happens is the woman is left with the children, and the man is in truth, he's hurt too.
Right.
Due to the fact that he's jumping from woman to woman to woman, because he's trying to find something that'll satisfy his soul.
Right.
But he don't know what it is.
So basically, it's like, I think I feel what you're saying on that tip. It's like, I know a lot of brothers, they're not allowed to be men basically in this society, you know.
Right.
The racist agenda basically emasculates the black male. He can't provide for his children. He can't basically, I don't know what you would say. Yeah, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, man. He's basically impotent, basically.
Right.
So the only means that he can find consolation is in his so-called sexual prowess.
Right,
And he goes around basically trying to prove his manhood by how many women he can lay. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that a lot, man.
Yeah, that's definitely the case, you know. And then, you know, we say we're players, we hustlers, we gangsters, we all this, but in truth, in reality, and this is not to be any type of player hater or anything like that, but when we talk about playing, many of times we're talking about having a woman over here and a woman over here, but we're not talking about taking care of responsibility.
Right.
Now, is really winning the game as far as that play is concerned? Is it the slave master, or is it the so-called slave or the black man?
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? This doesn't benefit the black man to disrespect his woman who's raising up his children. You know what I'm saying? This benefits the other man.
Right.
This does not benefit the black man. So, you know, if we're going to be a player, let's play on the right side of the team.
Right.
Let's play the game so that we'll win the game. You know, as far as working, what we said about working, you know, when we were brought over here, every black man had a job.
Right.
It was called slavery. In the 1920s, 90% of the men were in the home. You know, that's because the black man had a job. This was before integration.
Okay.
In the 1960s, it went to somewhere around 70%, I believe, 70 to 60%. But in the 1998, we have less than 30% of black men in the homes. Now, if you look, this decline of the man being in the home is in direct relationship to the black man being out of work. You know, so what we need to do, if we want to gain back the respect of our women, and if we want to gain the respect of the nations of the world, we have to begin to do something for ourselves. Right. And so I think a lot of the black organizations nowadays are adopting the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as economics is concerned, because we focused on so much else. You know, the slave mentality is what can they do for us?
Right.
And the free man's mentality is what can I do for myself? We got to stop begging, because we got doctors.
That's real.
We got dentists.
Right.
We got lawyers. We got everything we need to do for ourselves. The black community makes over $500 billion in purchasing power alone. This makes us somewhere between the 5th and the 7th largest nation if we were to separate from the America. This would make us between the 5th and the 7th most strongest or richest financial nation that's in the world. But yet, with the slave mentality, we give all our money away to other people so that they can, what? Hold together the family.
Right.
So they can, what? Send their children to college. While our children are in the ghettos, while our children are struggling, stealing each other's bikes, stealing each other's roller skates, because the parents are not able to afford or to buy these type of things for our children because we're not doing anything for self.
Hey, check this out. That was deep. That's profound, right? Check. All right. But check it, man. You familiar with the 5%, right?
Right.
5% Nation.
Right.
And Clarence 13X was basically a follower or a disciple of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know, peace be upon him, right?
Right.
And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Clarence 13X and the brothers in the nation, period, they got a breakdown, man. A breakdown of how to bear witness, how to keep the family together, right, through the atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, and all that.
Right.
Sun, moon, and stars.
Right.
And you got some women out there that do not understand that they actually need a man to make their, basically raise the kids, you know what I mean?
Right.
You got to have the male and the female aspect to do that. Bottom line, period. You can't get around it. So what I want you to do, right, is break down the sun, moon, and stars business, because you got a lot of people out there that don't have the faintest idea what I'm talking about, right? Can you break that down?
All right. As you were saying, Clarence 13X was a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he formed the organization called the 5%ers. This comes from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which says the 5%, which are the poor righteous teachers. Then you have the 10%, which are, in truth, the very rich, the greedy, the blood suckers of the poor. Then you had 85%, those who don't have a knowledge of self, who eat the wrong foods and don't know their origins in the world.
Right.
But when you look at the flag of Islam, you have the red background, you have the crescent moon, and you have the star. The red background is symbolic of the sun.
Okay.
The sun shines on everything and it frees everything up. So the sun is symbolic of freedom. You have the moon, which is equality.
Right.
What that does is that keeps the water at its level, and it pulls on the water, has a gravitational pull, but it makes sure that the water doesn't overcome the land and drown us all.
Right.
Then you have the stars that come out at night. Okay, now the sun represents the man. The sun is the center. The sun nourishes everything that it touches.
Right.
Okay, now the moon comes out at night.
Right.
The moon gets its light from the sun and it reflects the light.
Okay.
Now when you see the moon, you see the stars.
Okay.
The star, and there are many stars. The stars are symbolic of the children. Okay? Now, what has happened is, now imagine this. If you don't have, well, let's do this first. Let's look at the moon.
All right.
The moon comes out at night. And if it's a full moon, you can see, but it's not bright enough to light up a path as to where you are sure of where you're walking. You
Right.
see what I'm saying?
I see you saying.
Now, the moon is symbolic of the woman. Now, this is not to say that the woman cannot be the head of the family, but in many cases, she's had to be the head of the family. But it is to say this, that when the black man comes in back into that knowledge of self and then reclaims back his responsibility, then he is once again like the sun. See, the woman really want to reflect the light of the sun. The woman don't really want to be out in the forefront fighting the battle.
Right.
She really want her man to be out in the forefront fighting the battle.
Right.
But what is the man doing? The light has gone out. If the light goes out, then the moon can't reflect the light of the sun. So the question is, who is the moon reflecting? Who is the woman reflecting? She's not reflecting the black man, because the black man, I'm sorry, brothers, but we are dead.
Right.
We're not claiming our responsibility. So here the moon is she's still got to reflect something.
Right.
Now, if you look, the woman says this. She says, well, I'm working, I'm bringing home the money, I can buy the clothes that I want to buy. You know what I'm saying? The black man said, why don't you dress up, put something on? But since she's making all the money, and who's on the face of the dollar bill? It's the Caucasian. So she dressed in his type of clothing, right?
Right.
She emulates the white woman's style of dress and really her mentality.
Right.
This is not to say all white women, but this is to say some white women.
Okay.
Okay, now look, let's look at it. The black woman now, she got contacts, blue contacts in her eyes.
Right.
She got blonde hair,
Right.
right? She got his styling of dress on.
Right.
But when you look at old pictures of when we were back in the 50s, back in the slavery, then go back before slavery, the woman always had her hair covered. She always was modestly dressed.
Okay.
But today, the European fashion designers has taken the clothes off the woman. Now she got tight clothes on, right?
Right.
Leave nothing to the imagination. As a matter of fact, some women will now start wearing these dresses that you can see right through the dress. You can see the bra, and you can see the panties, and really it's like a miseducation, because they're made to believe that this type of indecent dress is actually clothing.
Okay.
But it's not clothing at all. And really, you know, the shame of it all is that it causes her to be disrespected due to the fact that she may not know it, but she's disrespecting herself by wearing these type of clothes, you know? So, you know, the black man, he has to gain the knowledge of self. And I think that the preachers in the churches have to teach the black man not only to gain a knowledge of self, but to read a book. You know, it's a shame to go into some of these black bookstores and it's almost like a desert. It's almost like an oasis.
Right.
It's not like the white bookstores, which have people in it.
Right.
I mean, our black bookstores have like dust, you know? and old books that are just sitting around.
Right.
And many of the black bookstores that you go to, they have to compensate for that by having maybe clothing or some other type of artifacts in there. They can't exist on just books because the black preachers don't emphasize the power that is found in books. And maybe a part of that could be, I don't know, but maybe a part of that could be that maybe they'll read something in the book that will cause them to question what the preacher's been teaching for so long. I don't know. I don't know. But all I have to say is that if the church is the head and it's supposed to morally guide the family, then I think that it's failed.
So basically, the black woman, she's not reflecting the black man light.
She's not
she's reflecting
the black
European light. You know
and this is to no fault of her own.
Right.
And in truth, you know, if we go back to the root of it, in America, it's to no fault of our own, because, you know, the black man was used as a stud horse.
Right.
He wasn't allowed to be the head of his household.
Right.
And in many cases, when the black man would jump the broom, or what they call jump the broom back then, or become married, the slave master would go into the home of the black man, and he would have first rights to the black woman, even before the black man would. And then, you know, he would be shuffled out some as a stud horse, and he would go into black women, and the woman would have no right to say no. Right. She would have to do it. So our families were broken up. That's why the black man and woman formed what is called family reunions, you know, to try to keep the family together. So, you know, when we look at the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and when we look at the Nation of Islam, I think that the Nation of Islam is an example for the people if they really want to study it. And, you know, we can drop all the pride, you know, we can drop all of that kind of stuff, and we can come together and we can learn from each other. I think that, you know, dropping the pride, I think that a brother like T.D. Jakes is doing an excellent job teaching the women. You know, I'm a follower of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, but I don't have any problem giving accolades to someone who is doing a good job. Miles Monroe and others are doing a good job, you know, but we have to come together and bring this type of knowledge and power together.
So check it out. What I want to do before we break out, I want to go ahead and I want to recap, especially on the Sun, Moon, and Star deal, because there's a lot of females that don't understand that it's an absolute must that you have a male figure.